As you guys know, here at the compound, I'm a big believer in the rule of cool, and I love taking basic dinosaur action figures and taking them to the next level when all possible. So as you can see here, I've got the 2018 Mattel Fallen Kingdom superposable Indoraptor figure, which as a whole is a nice figure with great articulation, but I was never a fan of that head sculpt and those blunt, sort of derpy teeth. Fortunately, for those of us who were never a fan of the head to begin with and would prefer something more realistic, we can now have a chance to fix that and really take this figure to the next level. Marco Makes, creator of the Rubbersaurus line of Jurassic dinosaur action figures, has teamed up with Surit Tech to offer a highly detailed 3D printed replacement head for the Indoraptor that will turn this kid's toy into a high-end adult collectible. Marco and Gary were kind enough to send me a sample head to do a video on to show you guys just how awesome this thing really is. And if you decide to jump on this and grab one for yourself, you'll have all of the resources you'll need right here at the compound to paint your own. I will leave links below to Surit Tech's Etsy store where you can purchase the Indoraptor head, as well as links to Marco's social media accounts. Be sure to follow him to stay up to date on all the cool Jurassic stuff he's working on. With all that said, let's get started. Alright, first off, we need to ditch the old head and get it out of here. Easiest way to do that is to heat up the head and rip it off with brute force. No sense in being neat and pretty with this, since I will never use this ugly head again, so I'm just going to destroy it and throw it away. And you can see the articulation joint right here. This will slot in perfectly with how Marco has sculpted the neck section on the new head, so everything will fit together like a glove and will just require some super glue to hold it all together. But before we glue it together, it's always a good idea to paint the inside of the mouth first before permanently assembling everything. That way you're not trying to get in there into a little tight spot with a brush. It'll just be a nightmare, so paint it before you assemble everything completely. For the mouth, I'll be going in first with a base coat of Barbarian Flesh from Army Painters, and I will be putting links down below in the description box to all of the paints that I'm using in case you want to paint along with me. I'll add just a little drop of the flesh paint into my wet palette. A little goes a long way with this paint, and then I will apply several thin coats until I have achieved a nice, smooth, fleshy finish. With the base flesh color done, now I'm going to start to build up some washes on the inside of the mouth. Starting out first with the Vallejo Flesh Wash, and I'm just going to wash this down into all of the recessed areas and then quickly dry it with my heat gun. And I will move on to the second wash layer, which will be Vallejo Red Wash. And with this one, I'm just going to focus on the tongue and nothing else. And then the last wash will be Vallejo Blue Wash, and I will mix that in with the red to create a purple tone, and then I'll wash that all over the surface of the rest of the mouth area just to give it a slight cool tone to the skin. Now with the wash done, it's time to paint these beautifully sculpted sharp teeth. And for that, I'll just be mixing matte white with some Vallejo Ochre Brown to create an off-white yellowish tone. And I'll just carefully pick out each tooth, making sure to get all sides and not slip and get any paint on the inside of the mouth. These teeth are so nicely done, very sharp, very pointy, and it gives it such a realistic appearance. Now with the inside of the mouth and the teeth done, I'm going to seal it real quick with some matte varnish, and just take a look. I'll put both of the pieces together so you can see just how awesome this thing is starting to look. Super cool looking. The last varnish to go on will be a gloss top coat to give the mouth that shiny wet appearance. Now that the inside of the mouth is done, it's time to assemble the head, and the first part to go on will be the neck section. And to attach the two parts, I'll just be using some super glue and an old beater brush to apply it all over the areas that are supposed to touch and lock together. Once I get it glued down, I'll put both parts together and then clamp them and set it aside to cure and harden. So it's been about 10 minutes, and in that time, waiting for the glue to cure, I've painted the very top part of that neck joint that sits right behind the tongue, and I did that the same color as the rest of the mouth, so it blends in when the mouth is open. And just kind of make a mental note to do this before you get that top head glued on, otherwise it will be super difficult to reach it with a brush. Now just brush on some super glue to the back part of the head and set it into place and press it down until I feel the glue lock the parts together, and I'll let that cure for a few minutes until I move on. But just look at how cool this head looks on this thing. It's like night and day, man. Marco, you are an absolute legend, man. So the glue has totally cured and is rock solid, so now I can move on and finish this guy up. The resin that this head is printed in is matte black, and of course the figure is obviously gloss black. So you're going to need to get some gloss top coat so the two materials will blend together. And now I'm using the same Createx gloss top coat that I used on the inside of the mouth area, so that's going to give me a nice match to let the head blend in with that glossy finish that the body has. Now on to the eyes. I'll be using Army Painter's Pure Red for these, holding my breath and blocking the eyes in. And then once the eyes are done, I'll just add a black slit and a very tiny white light catch. Since I'm already taking this thing to the next level, we might as well ditch those gaudy gold stripes going down the side and paint something a bit cooler to tie this thing all together. So I've mixed yellow with scarlet red to make an orange tone, and I'll start to fill in the gold stripes all along the sides of the body with an orange base, sort of being random and adding little patterns here and there and picking out certain scales and spikes. Not going too crazy with it, just trying to make it look a little more interesting than the factory gold deco that was on there. And after the orange base is done, I'll go back in with just that nice bright yellow, and I'll add a few highlights inside the orange hot rod stripes just to really make everything pop and stick out. Last step, we'll be taking some transparent burnt umber, secret weapon time, and I'm going to thin it down significantly with some water and just glaze that wash over the top of the orange and yellow stripes and scales just to bring it down a little bit to give it a nice rusty orange filter. And with that, this amazing Indoraptor figure is ready to rock and roll. So again, a huge thanks to Marco and Gary for sending over this replacement head. It's amazing how just a simple head swap and some extra paint apps can really take a figure to the next level. I honestly don't foresee any future Hammond Collection Indoraptor looking this good. So if you want a definitive Indoraptor for your collection, why not just make it yourself? Mattel's Indo body and Marco's head is the way to go. Again, I will leave links down below in the description box to purchase your own if you want to. So I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching. I hope this video has and or will help you out in the future if you decide to make your own ultimate Indoraptor figure. If you do make one, remember to tag me over on Instagram at the Jurassic Park compound, because I'd love to see how your Indoraptor turns out. So that is going to do it for me for this video. You guys take care, and I'll see you around the compound.